Hello and welcome, everybody. It's fantastic to have you here. We are super excited to present this info session for the 1.5 Academy Cohort 2. Let's kick things off. I'm just going to share some slides. We're going to be together for about an hour and really excited to have you here. Perfect. All right, so just walking through the agenda for today, and those of you watching at home, we're starting off with a welcome and intro. We'll go into a little bit about the OPF Academy origins. We're going to deep dive into the curriculum, go through the programming and structure. We're also going to hear from our Cohort 1 graduates, which is incredibly exciting, and then we'll wrap things up with a Q&A as well. So again, welcome. It's great to have you here. My name is Matthias Muehlbauer. We've got Denise Devlyn and Julia Akker as well with me. A brief introduction from my side. I'm a founding partner at 1.5 and also one of the co-facilitators of the 1.5 Academy and really excited to be here. Perhaps Julia, you can introduce yourself next, and Denise, you can as well.
Hi, everyone. As Matthias introduced, my name is Julia. I'm an associate director at 1.5. I've been here for a little over a year and a half now, and I am one of the co-facilitators and instructors of the 1.5 Academy. Great to meet you. And Denise?
Hi, I'm Denise. I am one of the community managers here. So I help with all things programming, and you'll see me a lot throughout the program on Slack, but really excited to be here.
Amazing. Thank you so much, team. And of course, it's not just us. We have a huge team that's supporting the 1.5 Academy and also 1.5 generally as well. And as you can see, we have background and experiences from lots of different places, but we do have a large team that puts together all the great content and programming that you'll see in Cohort 2. And just a reminder as well, at the moment, we have some key dates coming up. Applications are accepted on a rolling basis, and we have an email that goes out within 2 weeks letting you know about an interview. Early bird pricing, this is pretty important. It actually closes this upcoming Sunday, May 21st at 11:59 p.m. East Coast time in the US. And for your knowledge, onboarding for the Academy will occur the week of July 10th, 2023. And just some housekeeping as well. If you're there watching at home, we have the ability to do a Q&A. Feel free to add in your comments and we'll get to them in the thread. We'll have a Q&A section at the end as well. Cool. Well, let's jump in with the OPF Academy origins. Well, we know that the sustainability space is growing and we see a gigantic gap in where we need to be, especially from a skills perspective. The Academy actually started when we found there was a big gap in training our own associates, and we decided to put together a bunch of content that helped what we needed to do on projects, but then quickly expanded to a full curriculum of key skills, approaches, frameworks, covering things like scope emissions, product lifecycle assessments, investment into reduction opportunities, and much more. And so today we've come out the other end of launching our very first cohort and into Cohort 2, and super excited to go into a little bit more detail with you all. But giving a little context on 1.5, of course, where we're at is getting increasingly precarious with global warming and climate change increasing in intensity. But we also see that global change is happening with a lot of net zero commitments at the global level increasing. And we can see here essentially, we have around 57.8, almost 60% of global emissions covered by some form of policy documents. In contrast, we have around 20% of global emissions not covered by any submission of any sort. And so we see this gap in sustainability skills, but also sustainability decision-making. And our theory of change is that sharing these skills on sustainability will help to close this important gap that we have. Now, from the country level, we can see this increasing, but we also see this at the company level, where we see science-based targets as part of the SBTI, or Science-Based Target Initiative, increasing significantly over the past few years. And as of the 8th of March, 2023, we see this just ticking over 4,500 cumulatively in terms of companies with science-based targets or commitments to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. But we also see that compliance costs are increasing, impacting company bottom lines, as we see the annual average spend for companies increasing with an estimate of just over $500,000 per firm. And from an investor perspective, we also see funds spending money on sustainability to collect, analyze, and report climate information to inform investment decisions. This is over $1 million per year, according to Sustainability Persephone and Series 2022 study. So there is actually a gigantic gap in skills, and with limited time to act on climate, we need to mobilize talent and implement climate action immediately. Sustainability professionals, internal champions within organizations, can meaningfully drive this forward. Actually, there is an annual 2% shortage between job postings requiring green talent and the availability or available share of green talent. This gap must be filled either internally or externally, such as via consultants, given the lack of time we have to address the climate. And in another survey that's gone out, we see that 50% of respondents really predict that energy transition plan needs are going to increase and increase consulting services by 25%. About 20% agreed they would actually double at a minimum. Furthermore, 67% agreed that climate reporting needs would actually increase costs by at least 10%. And this is not just in terms of compliance, we're also seeing this impact customers and supply chains. Product and operations seem to most likely be disrupted as enterprises pivot to a sustainability strategy, as customer strategy and supply chain strategy are impacted and certainly connected here. But we also see a huge need for digital skills that overlap with sustainability skills as well. And so these data and digital and transformation skills required are increasingly emerging, with around 2 of the top 5 priority skills identified by sustainability professionals being digital skills. Digital transformation helped to add digital skills to everything. And now we see this also coming to life with the climate transformation as well. But what we actually see is a lot of the prior jobs of sustainability managers are often not in sustainability. Actually here, 4 out of the top 10 prior jobs, most often held by sustainability managers, were really not from a sustainability background. Business operation roles, for example, program manager, quality assurance managers, and customer service representatives all feed into a sustainability manager based on this Microsoft and BCG report we are referencing here. So what we found is that climate has become much more interdisciplinary, much quicker than expected, and has required more skills than previously acquired at university and college or more traditional forms of education. And so how does this relate to the implications of this current pathway that we're on in terms of emissions? Well, we're currently on a 4-degree Celsius warming pathway where future sustainable growth is at severe risk without any proactive action onto this 1.5 degrees 1.5 pathway, which is the framework that we've created that maps the business imperatives and action plans that businesses need to take to get on this 1.5 pathway. And part of the work that we have a sustainability accelerator to help companies make an impact now and get onto this 1.5 pathway. We also have a similar sustainability accelerator for professionals that want to also understand how to get onto this 1.5 pathway. And this underlies the approach for the OnePointFive Academy, where we've set up 5 different areas that tie into this 1.5 Academy around learning and committing, measure and analyzing, planning and executing, investing and reducing, and becoming a sustainability professional as well. And this 5-step journey, we believe, will help decouple emissions from sustainable growth. And at 1.5, we truly believe that the climate crisis can be solved by deploying the best of human ingenuity, where we mix a combination of our core consulting project teams with a vibrant and global climate expert network as well. And for our training and upskilling offerings that we have, we also see the role of training and education driving a lot of this ecosystem. And we do this through cohort-based training. We do this through workshops and education. We do this through sustainability education, and of course through greenhouse gas accounting education as well. Perfect. Well, I'm going to pass the next part of the presentation on to Julia, who's going to deep dive into the Academy curriculum. Julia, take it away.
Sorry, I was looking for the mute button. Thanks, Matthias. And yes, I'll be diving into how exactly we designed and developed our 1.5 Academy curriculum, beginning with making sure that it was tailored to the actual OPF Academy members. Next slide. So our OPF Academy members are passionate about tackling impactful and complex climate challenges. We tend to see our members falling into 3 main buckets. First, we have rising sustainability experts. These are individuals who come from environmental science and/or business backgrounds who are really looking to level up on practical skills that they need to execute on climate projects. We also have ambitious, climate-curious business professionals. These tend to be early to mid-career individuals who have functional expertise or experience, such as in product management, project management, operations, marketing, but they really want to level up their corporate sustainability-focused toolkit. Last, we have environmental professionals or those with technical expertise in science, engineering, and academia who have linkages to climate, but who want to bridge the gap between their practical environmental and corporate sustainability skills needed to translate their tremendous impact. Next slide. And so when we designed the 1.5 Academy curriculum, we didn't do this in a vacuum. We drew upon several sources, starting with our own client projects and day-to-day experiences at 1.5, as Matthias just introduced. However, we also looked through job posts and the latest industry research to identify the top corporate sustainability skills sought by employers. And we actually found that employers were placing focus on the things that we kept coming into, such as greenhouse gas accounting, LCA modeling, the various certifications and reporting frameworks out there. And we're looking for individuals who had analytical problem-solving skills. Finally, we also polled 1.5 Academy applicants, as well as our actual Cohort 1 Academy members when they joined, to understand what their key topics of interest were, such as creating a net zero strategy, building a decarbonization roadmap, and more. What we found was that there was a lot of overlap between the things that our clients wanted us to work on, what employers were looking for in terms of job skills, and what potential OPF Academy members wanted to learn as well. Next slide. And so as a result, we developed our carefully considered 6-week-long curriculum that naturally follows the sustainability journeys of our customers who are along the 1.5 pathway and tackles the key skills that sustainability professionals would need to know to shepherd companies through their journeys. So in week 1, we cover climate strategy, targets, and goal setting. In weeks 2 and 3, we dive into measuring and analyzing sustainability at both the organizational and the product levels through greenhouse gas accounting and life cycle analysis. Then in week 4, we tackle the thorny alphabet soup of reporting frameworks, disclosures, standards, and we learn how to identify pertinent key performance indicators and metrics. Week 5 gets to the heart of our path forward as a society by looking at climate investment principles and decarbonization strategies. Finally, we conclude week 6 with a little something different and unique to our academy, which is a Sustainability Professionals 101 course. So I will dive into each week in the subsequent slides, covering the key learning objectives week over week and highlighting some of our wonderful speakers and panelists who we hosted during cohort 1. So starting with week 1, we'll dive into the concept of net zero, how sustainability came to be, and the different types of corporate sustainability goals out there. We'll set the stage with the most common reporting and disclosure frameworks and the importance of integrating climate justice into a company's strategy. We'll also kick things off with some amazing speakers, like Cohort 1 favorites Jonathan Foley from Project Drawdown and Stefan Nicolo from Full Cycle. Then, moving on to week 2, we dive into the world of greenhouse gas accounting. OnePointFive Academy members will come away understanding the key components of Scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions and how to actually calculate these for a given company. We'll cover the most material categories for given industries, and of course, we'll touch on some of the limitations of greenhouse gas accounting as well. We'll bring in speakers from companies that are operating in the space currently, such as Unravel Carbon, a carbon accounting and decarbonization platform based in Southeast Asia, and Sinai, which is focused on hard to decarbonize industries. Then, when we move on to week 3, we'll really be diving deep into product level emissions specifically and how these actually differ from enterprise level emissions. We'll cover life cycle analysis and the various environmental impact categories that you can assess, as well as going through real life examples of how changes in product design resulted in a lower overall carbon footprint. And during this week, you'll get to hear from practitioners in the space, such as from Planet Forward and Carbon Calories. Then, in week 4, we dive deep into the various sustainability frameworks, standards, and reporting disclosures out there, touching on the latest developments to date, as well as future trends among the growing global regulatory landscape. We also cover physical and transitional climate risks, how they play in and factor into global disclosures, and how someone can identify these for a given organization. We'll hear from a leading software solution that's tackling climate risk analysis today called Cervest, as well as practitioners with years of experience navigating the reporting landscape. Then in week 5, we dive into the carbon markets value chain, including current and future trends. We discuss the requirements that you actually need to design and build a financial environmental model, which is critical for measuring return on investment and impact. We'll learn about carbon costing, including carbon tax, internal cost of carbon, and marginal abatement curves. Finally, we'll discuss the key principles that you need to consider when investing in decarbonization solutions, and you'll hear from some amazing panelists, such as Danny Kennedy from New Energy Nexus. And then our 6th and final week focuses on corporate sustainability, the trends, the career pathways, and the skill sets needed to thrive in the space, either working in-house for a company or as a consultant. We'll cover the best practice frameworks and tools for sustainability professionals and how to structure an end-to-end project and take your next steps after the OnePointFive Academy. So this has just been a sneak peek. Don't worry, all of this content and all of the learning objectives are available on our website as well. And now I will hand it off to Denise, who's going to take us through the OnePointFive Academy structure and programming.
Thank you, Julia. Now that we are finishing overview of the origins and the weekly course content, we'll take you through a bit of what it's like to be in the OPF Academy. Next slide. So what you can expect for being a member of Cohort 2, we will have around 120 Academy participants in the second cohort. We're currently planning to have over 20 facilitated sessions. Those include our curriculum sessions, like the ones Julia discussed. We also have interactive lab sessions on Wednesdays, and we'll also bring in a variety of social networking events, more light touch ones, so you guys can get to know each other on a personal level. We'll also host study halls so you guys can connect and go through the course material together. Like mentioned, we bring in a bunch of really great expert speakers to come in and help supplement the material. And we will have over 15 of them joining us for cohort 2, ranging from a ton of great companies, like Julia mentioned. Last cohort, we had Patagonia, Full Cycle, Servest, a lot of great organizations coming out. Next slide. And so this is an illustrative schedule of what a week can look like at the OPF Academy. As a reminder, the start date is July 17th. So on Mondays, you can expect to join us for our curriculum session, which is a 2-hour session taught by our expert instructors, such as Matthias and Julia. This will be kind of diving into the nitty-gritty of each weekly topic. And then followed by on Wednesday, we have our lab session. These are really interactive. You work a lot in a group setting to really apply the knowledge that you've learned in that Monday curriculum session into real world case studies. We build these internally at OnePointFive using our industry knowledge, and they're really great, applicable hands-on work. And so on Friday, we will cap off each week with an expert speaker that comes in, and they're a speaker kind of relevant to that weekly topic. We follow that session usually by some sort of networking event that can either be a social, which is more light touch, kind of speed networking type style, or a study hall where you will get a group together. We'll help facilitate, and you guys can discuss the weekly content and help each other with the material that you all just learned. And so on top of that, we also have these optional opt-in small groups, which are around an hour a week. This is you opt in and we'll curate a group of around 4 to 5 other members with you and to meet for an hour. This is like an accountability group. You all can go to each other with other forms of questions, but this is just an extra support network to have while you are going through the OPF Academy program. And this time kind of varies per group, but if you kind of attend live and really involved in all the activities, you can expect to spend around 5 to 8 hours per week working on the OPF Academy program. So next slide. And so a bit about this OPF Academy community that you will be a part of. Like I mentioned, cohort 2 will be around 120 people. And there are a few learning pillars that we really value ourselves on. The first one is that you will join our cohort, and as a result, you will get access to takeaway slides, which will summarize the key points of each weekly theme and topic that we talk about. We host all this on a Notion page, and you all will get continued access to that, be able to see the recordings. This allows you to be able to access the material asynchronously. Also, if you attended live but want to go back and refresh on the material, you will be able to do that. You also have access to Slack, where, like I mentioned, people are always sending more resources and sharing each other even job opportunities, but the Slack space is another great space to continue your learning. This community also offers a really great support network. So we have, like I mentioned, these virtual social events so you can connect with other people, grow your network, and meet with other like-minded people who will be people who you will hopefully interact with throughout your career. We also have a directory of all the OPF Academy graduates. Not only can you see the people within your cohort and reach out easily, but you will also be able to see people in past cohorts and future cohorts. And then we also offer in real life meetups. We have a bunch of geo-based channels so you can hopefully know with each other in person as well. And then lastly, we really support you all really turning all your learnings into actions. So we will send you all materials created by our team to help you all. We also support community-led events if you have a skill set that you want to share. At the end of the day, we are excited to help you all turn your learnings into action. The next slide. And so what you can expect as an OPF Academy graduate is, first, you'll definitely receive a shareable credential from us. This is a credential that you'll be able to post on your LinkedIn and share the knowledge and the skills that you've learned. You also get access to those hands-on projects that we have you all working on in our labs. These will be helpful if you want to go back and refresh on all that knowledge and along with our curriculum as well. You'll receive ongoing access to our community. Not only is it a very inclusive climate community, but also you'll be get continued access to the networking and support that this community offers, whether it's through your cohort or past and future cohorts. And like I mentioned, there will be in real life regional meetups, so you can continue to deepen those connections. Next slide. And so speaking of the cohort, so we had our inaugural cohort launch in the past couple months. That cohort was around 91 members. We were excited to have over 15 different countries represented, so you can expect to have a global cohort and have people zooming in from all over the world. And 100% of participants found that the OPF Academy really increased their skills and confidence as a professional. And you can see there's a group picture of us all together at the graduation ceremony. Vincent Stanley from the Director of Philosophy at Patagonia joined us for that. Matthias and I are repping our graduation hats, but trust me, more people put them on by the end of the session. But enough to hearing from us, we would love to bring up some members of Cohort 1 to actually share a little bit of their experience with us. So yeah, I will bring up those Cohort 1 members. Great. We'll also bring up Matthias too to help. Amazing. Welcome, you guys.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Hi, everyone. Glad to be here.
It's fantastic to have some familiar faces from Cohort 1. I feel like we've got another core session again. I feel like facilitating some session on some topic. Simon and Sherry-Anne were some stellar participants of our first cohort, and we've just invited them today to give some of their feedback and insights onto their experience. So maybe first of all, we can get some introductions from you lovely people. So perhaps Simon, do you want to kick things off on who you are and what you do? And Sherry-Anne, we can hear from you next.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's an honor to be a part of this. So I actually joined the first cohort of OPF coming from Sinai Technologies, which is a decarbonization platform. And I was very eager to learn some of the nitty-gritty of this program. So very excited to share that. Based in California. So I was joining from the West Coast. So that's me, Sherry-Anne.
Thanks, Simon. I feel like a mini reunion. So I'm in Canada. Yeah. I'm a little bit north of Toronto. And I worked in the financial industry at a bank for close to 35 years and then left and took some time off and decided that I wanted to work in climate. So I went off and did a 12-week program to ground myself in the climate industry, and then figured out that I wanted to be a climate consultant and did not know how to do that. And OPF just naturally dropped in front of me and said, hey, we can teach you. And that's what intrigued me. And that's why I joined the program.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing your motivations on why you joined. Would love to hear from both of you. How did the OPF Academy contribute to your understanding of the overall corporate sustainability space? Maybe Sherry-Anne, you want to kick things off and then you can throw it over to Simon?
No problem. So for me, the word is demystify. Like it demystified it for me. What do I mean by that? So the course that I took, I learned a bit about the science. I learned about solutions. I learned about, the economics of it and all, some of those issues. But what I really, didn't know is, okay, so if I wanted to be a consultant in this space, how exactly do I do that? I'd heard about all these different acronyms like SASB and GRI and scopes 1, 2, 3, and it just seemed grand. It just seemed huge to me. But what the program did for me is it really just taught me that, hey, this is what it is. It was pretty hands-on. So I got to actually participate and I got to actually learn how to do some of these things. And so I walked out of there feeling like I could do it. I felt like this is possible, not to mention the network that I am now surrounded by. That's really what the program did for me. Sum off.
Amazing. Simon?
Yeah, I have to second everything that Sherry-Anne said. I think for me, even working in the climate space before joining the cohort, there's a very clear disconnect between some of the information you can find online and read about. I mean, you can go and read the GHG protocol from start to finish, and it's a very dense document, and I'm sure you'll learn a lot from it, which I did initially. And, you know, learning that and understanding, okay, how do I actually put this into practice? How do I go through the steps to actually help a company put together a sustainability plan? And that information is very hard to find. And OPF did an incredible job of just summarizing that on a tangible, digestible structure. And the hands-on labs were just incredible for us to actually do the work and feel comfortable leaving the academy and saying, okay, I can do this for a business. I can be a consultant. And so that was a massive part of the program for me.
Simon, could you share which lab you sort of liked and got sort of most out of, and maybe just a little bit of context or background behind what the lab was and what the objective was?
Yeah. And I don't want to give too much away from the labs, but I mean, I think when you think about GHG reporting and you think about going through that at a high level, understanding the calculations, how we should set up the spreadsheets if you are doing it in a spreadsheet basis, and then, you know, learning about the tools out there is incredibly helpful. And then MAC curves are a very complex topic for some people, and I do have experience through Cyanai's system MAC curves, but being able to actually build those from scratch and understanding what goes into that process was incredibly helpful for me to think about it, not only from my client's point of view, but how would I do this without a full-blown system to help me. So those two sessions were incredibly helpful to shed light on the process for me.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Simon. Sherry-Anne, any reactions to that? Do you second everything that Simon says there?
I absolutely do. I will say to the folks who are on the line today is, you know, I mean, life happens and sometimes you don't make all the sessions. If there's one session that you should really try and make, it's the lab session. It was another reason why I joined, because I loved the whole idea of having cases that you could actually work on. And so I don't want to give it all away either, but I actually loved MAC curves as well. That was really cool. And, you know, for me, like circularity, that is something we spoke about, you know, that I came in having some understanding about. But when I did, you know, we did spend some time on the life cycle assessment of a product. I thought, so that's it. It's all come together. This is exactly, you know, what it means. So, you know, there's just so much of it, but I do absolutely agree with Simon.
Fantastic. Would love to hear one highlight and or favorite moment of the Academy. And feel free to, if you have one ready to go, feel free to jump in, either one of you.
Sherry-Anne, do you want to go first?
Mine was the labs, but since we've already spoken about that, another was just really learning that, you know, there was this aha moment that, there are some tools and there are some platforms, technical that is, that are built to supplement, to support what you do as a consultant. Like you don't, you know, some things are difficult, like a scope 3 and everything that's involved there. But you know, learning that there were some tools and resources to help, that was an aha moment. And then just the network in the small groups session. I won't forget that. We will continue to meet for now, learned a lot from each other, supported each other. Those are a couple things I can think of.
Yeah, it's funny. Sherry and I are actually in our small group together, so we will.
Oh wow! Okay, yeah. Can you share a little bit more about what happened in your group? For people that weren't in your group, it sounds like a lot of magic happened. If I'm not correct.
Yeah, we had a great small group. So I think it was 4 of us in our group. And I think it created a lot of space for us to ask questions that maybe we didn't feel comfortable asking in front of, you know, 91 other cohort members. And it gave us a lot of time to just be candid and say, did you get that? Or some people felt like they got sessions a lot better than others. And so we were able to help each other. And Sherry-Anne was our facilitator, and she did an awesome job of giving everybody space and giving everyone the opportunity to chat about the things they cared about, and also the things they really felt like they had gaps on. So it was really powerful. And I guess one of the favorite moments for me, I think the labs were also fantastic, but I can't compare the amount of inspiration I got from some of the keynote speakers. So obviously John Foley and Jordan was incredible to kick it off.
Yeah,
and
he's great.
I left that meeting being like, I'm in the perfect place. This is incredible. But also the full cycle team, and really, I would say almost every founder or speaker that was really at the forefront of this process. It just shows you that it's possible. It shows you different routes to make a difference, and they were all just incredible speakers. So I walked out of a lot of those calls just being really fired up and really ready to spend more time on it. So that was probably my favorite moments, was listening to all the people that are doing incredible work out there.
Sherry-Anne, how did you find the speakers from your perspective?
I actually also got a lot from them, really loved them. And what I liked is that, the OPF team did a really good job at supplementing whatever topics we were spending time on and learning on about that week. You matched it up well with the guest speakers who were coming in to speak to us. And so it was just very natural to learn and then listen and hear from their experiences. And they also shared a lot, and they were pretty open and honest, even for follow-up, etc. So I actually also really enjoyed the guest speakers.
Yeah.
Well, thanks both. What advice would you give to someone considering participating in Cohort 2 or Cohort 3 coming up of the OnePointFive Academy?
Yeah, I think Sherry-Anne and I will probably agree on this one. It might even be her. I don't want to steal her thunder, but the number one thing I would advise on is really, give the labs the amount of time they need. If this is where you want your career to go, these labs are a crash course and a fast track to being able to do this work. And the OPF team does an incredible job, a quite surprisingly good job at corralling, this number of people together on Miro boards and within these exercises. And it is incredibly valuable. You're going to do in a snapshot, in a few hours on a day, but you're going to do the exact work that you would be doing as a climate consultant. And you have basically experts over your shoulder saying, this is why this is important. This is why this is not important. And you're just not going to be able to get that outside of a cohort like this. And it's invaluable. That would be my number one thing to recommend to people. I don't know about you, Sherry-Anne.
Yeah, no, I agree. First of all, I'll say if you're on the fence, just go do it. Like, you need to join. You will not be disappointed. I found the team very effective, very smart people, or instructors there, Matthias, I said that. But very, very brilliant at the way that they structured and delivered the program. It is done in a way that it's digestible for you. But, I will say to you that it's 6 weeks or whatever it is. So you're not going to walk out of there having read every document and knowing it all. But you would have done enough, especially as Simon's saying, if you participate in the labs, to know where to go and to know how to do things, because you will have all access to all the material later. It is a huge network. I found brilliant people. Some were already consulting. And now I now have this network of people that I can reach out to. And also they're very sharing, and ask a question if I'm trying to do something and, I need help. So, you've got to figure out, you must lean in. participate fully. What do I mean by that? I mean, you're there for the learnings, but the socials, I found that that was one of the best ways to connect, because one-on-one, I'd get in a room and I'd get to know someone and learn, literally learn a bit about who they were and what they were all about, as well as, you know, the small groups. Like, don't just shut yourself out. You know, try your best if you can. It is 6 weeks, devote the time and really participate. And you know, the network is there to support you, right? So reach out to them. There isn't one person that I reached out to that I said, hey, would you have a one-on-one call with me? This is what I'm thinking. I've got some questions. That said no. I'm still doing that. And I've got, you know, a couple upcoming. And you just become, you know, colleagues, you know, closer colleagues with some. So, you know, these few things that I can think of, but you really just have to lean in, and you really have to be comfortable. It is truly a safe space. So don't worry so much, right? Excel came up. Some were comfortable, some weren't. You know what? So we have a laugh about it. We talk about it. We hold each other's hands. We get it done. So, you know, be comfortable enough that you can do that.
100%. Yeah.
Amazing. Sherry-Anne, I could listen to you for hours. I've just got a question in the chat here, and maybe we can try and answer this together. Let's see if we can. So the question is from Jennifer Wang. Given that the standards and regulations keep changing, what does continuing education with OPF look like? Also, how does the course connect with the expert network? Okay, and there's a third question, last question. Since OPF is new, how are other sustainability consultants learning this content? Is it mainly through universities? Well, perhaps I can start with answering it. I'm going to bring up Julia to help out with maybe some of the questions here. So I think the first and the third question are actually connected. And I think this is part of the pickle that we're getting into at the moment, where sustainability standards and frameworks and regulations keep changing and keep on updating every 6 months or so. And the way that universities and university education is structured is that you'll have a tenured professor who's been in the industry for a long time that doesn't have the time to get updated on what's happening in the industry because they're in academia. And so they're missing out on these quicker cycles of updates as well. And so what you'll essentially have is the information that you're learning about the regulations about a specific topic in sustainability that you learn in year one. By the end of your 4-year bachelor degree, that's 3 years out of date or 3.5 years out of date, right? Now, I think they can live in the same universe. Certainly, the university education provides a great set of skills and foundational attributes that are important, such as the existing climate science that we have, for example. But I think there's certainly a supplementary element of education that can be gained through learning from people that are in the field as industry professionals as well. And in terms of the expert network, Julia, would you like to cover your perspectives on this?
Sure. So I think we're actually in the process of defining how our wonderful OnePointFive Academy members will interact with our existing 1.5 expert network. But this was actually an impetus for us designing and building the Academy in the first place, was that we had wonderful experts in our network who had amazing experience in their specific functional or sectoral areas, such as architecture or like mathematics, who might have done management consulting and wanted to get into climate. And that was where we had initially seen that despite having all this amazing experience within their specific areas, there were some like sustainability consulting or corporate sustainability skills and information that people wanted to learn and weren't really getting from their current jobs. And so that is where the idea for the 1.5 Academy came into play, being like, okay, well, if we can design a course that we can deliver to our experts, some of which did actually take the course and were part of our first cohort, then that could be exactly what they need to actually work on climate projects. And so there is a very natural kind of connection and feed between the expert network and the 1.5 Academy. Matthias?
Yeah, thank you for that. And I think there's a little bit more in the question there. How are other sustainability consultants learning this content? Primarily through, I'd imagine, work experience working on projects as these issues come up, regulatory changes and those driving needs with projects, for example, and through research, I guess, online, and keeping in touch with various consultations of all the alphabet soup of frameworks and standards and regulations as well. Hopefully that answered your question. And if there's any other questions that people would like to ask, please feel free to drop it into the thread and we'll take a look. Turning back to Sherry-Anne and Simon, what are some things that are coming up for you now, post-Academy? And what's your sort of outlook looking like?
Yeah, Sherry-Anne, I'll let you go first.
You know, just to add on to that question, I'd just quickly say as well that because I was one of those people trying to figure out, you know, how do I learn this? The generosity, the fact that you were willing to share, you know, your processes and the things you did as a network, that's really admirable. I think that's really forward looking. I mean, in climate, we need more and we need pace and scale. And truly, how else are we going to get it? I can tell you, just I'm talking to consultants now, and I would never have gotten that much if I think I did it on my own so quickly. So for me, right now, I went in and I'll tell you, I went back a little bit because I went in saying I want to do my own practice, and then very honestly thought, oh, do I need to go be a consultant in a firm for a bit and then do it? And then I decided no, by the time I got to the end of the program, that I was absolutely capable given my background. And I accepted that, you know what, I'm going to have to learn as I go. There are some things that I will just have to research and continue to learn as I go. So that's what I'm about. I'm in the process of setting up my own practice. I am in the discovery stage. So I've started talking to other consultants who are in the field. I want to work with high-end, small to mid-size companies. I'm in Canada, and so we're not there yet where they're being told they have to do it. But at some point I feel that it's coming. And so I'm just trying to understand, talk to a few business owners, what their needs are, you know, before I decide what my offering should be. But that's the stage that I'm at right now.
Amazing. Simon?
Yeah, and I look at it from a little bit of a different lens because I work for a software company that helps businesses decarbonize. So I've been able to utilize a lot of what I learned in the OPF Academy to be able to help bring a lot of these customers that are looking to decarbonize but really have little to no knowledge. They don't have a sustainability team. They don't know where to get started, and be able to really help them get a grasp on just sustainability as a whole before we start talking about, you know, all the systems they need and all the process that they need to do. So it's been incredibly valuable. And actually, to the standards and regulations question from Jennifer, I actually think one of the benefits of the community now that we've graduated, there's really fascinating threads going on in Slack, and you see someone post something about, I think it was right at the beginning of the cohort, the IPCC released a report, and the thread just was so fascinating to participate in, and getting everybody's perspective. And then you're learning as everyone in the field, all the experts are learning, you know, these reports are coming out, these things are changing, and you have a group of people that you can collaborate with to figure out, you know, what does this mean for the business and what does this mean for everybody around us. So super valuable.
Thanks so much. Yeah, there's some fire going on in the Slack channels at the moment, which is pretty cool. Okay, there's another question from Mohit in the thread. Do you have any direct contact from corporations on the corp sustainability related roles they're trying to fill? Do you track the roles cohort members have prior and after the academy? Mo, this sounds like a great pursuit. So I think these are things that we are thinking about in right now in this moment about how we improve the experience for members going forward. Don't have anything concrete at the moment right now. We do have sort of strong ecosystem partners with players like climatebase.org, which we've been in partnership for the last year and a half. And part of our speakers that we are bringing on also share sort of their spots they're trying to fill, and getting FaceTime with those speakers as well, and starting a dialogue with them is also a fantastic way to set yourself up for jobs. Julia, any thoughts here?
I primarily agree with what you said. I think ultimately we as 1.5, we started as a sustainability advisory firm, and we built this academy because we saw such a need for it. And I think as Sherry-Anne alluded to, like, we want to get people trained up, and we think it's incredibly important that people learn these skills, and we're more than happy to share. But we're not necessarily a job placement firm. That's not what we do. However, what our theory of change is and our hope is that by giving people these skills and giving them like a crash course essentially in corporate sustainability, it'll give them the confidence and the actual experience to be able to then apply to jobs, because we know that employers are looking for these things. They want someone who has an idea of how to do greenhouse gas accounting and can navigate some of the reporting standards and frameworks out there. So that's kind of the role that we're trying to play here.
I will say for both Matthias and Julia, I have seen in the Slack channel multiple references and referrals go through, and people will just ping each other in the Slack and say, hey, I saw your company has an open role, or I saw you're connected to this person. And so I've seen a few of those already go by, and it would be an awesome thing to just track and see how that happens post cohort. But it's been great to see it in real time.
That's a great point.
Fantastic. Well, I think we're close to the top of the hour now. So we might wrap things up. Thank you so much, Sherry-Anne and Simon, for your insights and your time as well. Best of luck with the future, and hopefully we get to see you all soon. Otherwise, we'll see you in Slack. For those at home watching, thank you so much for understanding what the next cohort 2 is going to look like. We're super excited. Again, early bird applications end on Sunday, May 21st. Please reach out if you have any other questions. And of course, this recording will be available as well on this channel on LinkedIn. Thank you so much, and a huge shout out again to our OPF Academy members for joining. Great to see you all.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thanks all.
Bye.